Your Mercury placement is what shows you your intellectual stimulation. This is not just how you communicate and the words that you speak, but it's also like your activities that make you really happy and intellectually stimulate you. You might find that the way you speak and what you speak about might have themes of the house that your Mercury placement is in. And you could also find that if you write books or if you create songs or if you create anything that involves communication, your house that your Mercury placement is in is going to have themes of that house when you speak, when you create things, when you write, when you sing, anything involving speaking and communication. Mercury is all about the way we speak, our communications, how we communicate with others, with interpersonal relationships, what we say when we are speaking to a very large audience. And knowing the house that your Mercury placement is in will tell you so much about the themes, about how you speak, what you speak about. It also shows you what you're more intellectually interested in. Hi, my name is Elizabeth. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Here we like to talk about astrology, numerology, and everything written in the stars for you. I've been a practicing astrologer since 2017, and here on this channel, I share with you my knowledge about astrology and numerology. In today's video, we are going to be talking about Mercury through the houses and what your Mercury placement means about how you communicate and what intellectually stimulates you when you communicate. Understanding the house placement that your Mercury sign is in will show you a lot about the themes that you will experience throughout your entire life when you speak and you communicate. And it also will show you what kind of information that you easily take in. Starting with Mercury in the first house, if you have your Mercury in the first house, you are all about yourself when you speak and communicate. You might be very focused on communicating yourself and communicating who you are and how you appear to others. You might speak a lot about yourself, and when you are speaking to other people, you could feel like you're always selling yourself and always trying to speak to others about yourself in order to really show who you are and what you stand for. The way you communicate can be really rooted in who you are as a person and what you really think about all the time as it pertains to yourself. You could also feel like you're constantly selling yourself. You could be somebody who is a salesperson or somebody who is trying to climb up the ladder at work, and so you're always trying to sell yourself so other people like you. You could also be somebody who really likes things about beauty or appearance-based topics like hair, makeup, fashion. You could really like things like that are really just strictly appearance based, and it could make you very happy and intellectually stimulated whenever you speak about this topic. You could be also somebody who really likes to consume content about beauty because you are so stimulated by this and you love to speak about it yourself. You could have a very vast knowledge about skincare and will talk to anybody about skincare constantly. You could be the number one person to go to for skincare advice or for hair advice, for taking care of your hair and your skin. And you could also study fashion trends and really like fashion. That's what you love to talk about. If you have a social media channel, you could be somebody who really likes to share their knowledge about how you show yourself in the public eye. You could be somebody who really talks a lot about how they keep their hair really healthy or their wardrobe. You could be somebody who speaks about makeup a lot and how to do your makeup. You could be somebody with a lot of focus in your life about appearances, and you could be somebody who loves to talk about things like that. You could also be somebody who would write a book about beauty and skincare, and people would want to reference that book, as you could be a expert in skincare and beauty. If you have your Mercury in the second house, you are very wrapped up in finances and making money. You could work in an industry where you're a financial investor, or you could work in finances where you are investing money for other people, or working in as an accountant or something like that, where you're constantly working with money. You could also be a real estate investor, and you could also be something like an entrepreneur where you are constantly trying to make money and reading books about making money. You could be somebody who constantly reads books about how to increase your own personal finances and read a lot of self-help books like that, or you're constantly consuming media on social media about how to make more money. You could be somebody who's interested in becoming an entrepreneur or a CEO in order to become financially stable. You could be constantly like learning things like that, and therefore whenever you create something or communicate stuff, it always has this undertone of being financially stable and making more money. You could also be a very self-confident person, and a big part of like what you like to talk about is confidence and helping other people become confident as well. So you could be a very strong motivational speaker, or a speaker where like you're educating people about how to become more self-confident and make more money at the same time. People could want to come to you in order to get your advice about how they can be more financially stable, more financially independent, and how to boost their own confidence in order to become the person who they want to become. If you write a book, it could be something like a self-help book, or a book for like people who want to increase their finances and becoming like CEOs or bosses. You could be somebody who not only do you consume that content yourself, but you make it. If you have your Mercury placement in the third house, you are very sharp, you're very smart, you love to read, you love podcasts. You could also be somebody who doesn't necessarily like to stick to one topic. You want to get as much information as humanly possible about everything. You want to learn about everything possible under the sun. You want to be somebody who gains as much information as humanly possible in order to be very smart. You could have been like one of those kids who reads every book in the library when you were like a little kid. You could have been somebody who wanted to take all the AP classes, or somebody who wanted to take as many classes as possible in order to gain as much knowledge as possible, making you a very smart person. You could care a lot about social media and making it on social media. You could be somebody who really wants to create a lot of content so people can watch your content and see you in the public eye. You could be somebody who's very interested in analyzing social media and could work as like an analyst for like a company about certain trends on social media, and tapping into things like Google Insights in order to gain more information about how to go viral on social media, or what content you should make in order to do well. You could be somebody who's like an analyst or a data analyst. You could be somebody who does like big data analytics for like companies and helps companies get a understanding of everything that they're doing in the company in order to help them financially or help them in their business. You could be like somebody who is again like a big data analyst or something like that, because you have a very analytical, sharp mind who's very good at not just one pursuit but multiple intellectual pursuits. There's like a duality to you where like it's hard for you to stick to one subject. So instead of being like an expert in one thing, you become an expert in multiple things. And you could be somebody who can easily be like a really good analyst because you know a lot about many subjects, and that can help you when you are analyzing data for companies in order to help them with their business. You could also be somebody, again, who does well on social media and loves to look into the analytics of things. If you have your Mercury in the fourth house, you are very into speaking about your emotions. You care a lot about mental health, and you could be one of those people that loves to consume books about mental health and emotions and how to better your mental health and emotionally take care of yourself and other people. You could really speak a lot about how you can take care of your emotions, and you could love themes and topics with other people. When you're in interpersonal communications, you could talk to these people about their emotions in order to help them. You could be kind of like a therapist in a way, where you love to talk to this person and you also love to nurture this person with their own emotions so they can become like the better version of themselves. You could also love to read books that are very emotionally sensitive, and you could feel very nurtured and happy in a way when other people discuss their emotions or write about their emotions. You could also really like reality television shows when it's about a family and it's like, you know, like the real world things that happen in families. You could really like TV shows around families, or even like TV shows like Modern Family where it's about a family. You could also really have a strong intellectual focus on family stuff. So you could work as like a social worker or something where you are helping families and helping children in a way. You could be somebody who wants to nurture other people and help other people and have a very strong intellectual focus on this in your entire life. You could care about relationships, but we really care more about families as a unit and about their emotions. And you could even be kind of like focused on creating your own family yourself and your own house and like getting a house for yourself. And that could be like a big drive in your entire life. If you have your Mercury in the 5th house, you're very focused on having fun and partying. You are also very focused on being an artist and being very creative. You could have a very strong drive in order to create something that will make other people happy with your voice. You could want to create music where you are singing about something or speaking and communicating about something that will make other people happy and bring them joy and have them have fun to whatever you are saying. You could be somebody who's more focused on helping other people become happy through your own creative pursuits. You could want to entertain people, and that will make them happy through the way that you speak and communicate. You could also find that you have a theme whenever you communicate, or if you decide to write a book or a song, it could be all about creativity or all about doing things to make other people happy and entertaining them. You could be somebody who would want to write like a TV show or like a children's TV show in order to entertain them. You could be like a TV show writer or something like that where you are like entertaining people with your writing. You could write like a very successful book. You could be somebody who wants to write a book about like having fun. Also write like lighthearted romance novels where people like to consume romance media in order to make them happy. You could feel like you want to create that for people, and you could find that you have this theme in your writing or a theme in whatever you create where it has this theme of romance in it, and it makes other people happy whenever they see your writing or your work in some way. If you have your Mercury in the 6th house, you are somebody who is very into helping other people through your services to them. You could feel like you could be like a consultant or somebody who helps other people through your words. You could be somebody who writes for other people, or you could be like a ghostwriter where you are writing that other people don't actually see that that's your work, but you're writing for other people. You could be like a ghost songwriter or a ghostwriter for books where somebody kind of like white labels your work and takes it as their own because you're doing it as like a service to other people. Perks: if you have planets in your 12th or 8th house, this could also indicate that you're like a ghostwriter. Having Mercury in the 6th house, you could also have a very strong emphasis on your own personal health and really care about your health. You could be somebody who will write books or write blogs or create YouTube videos or communicate so that people will help improve their health. You could really care a lot about your own bodily health. You could be like an influencer on social media who speaks about bodily health and becoming the most healthy version of yourself, and people will eat it up. Like, they'll love it so much. You could talk about your healthy recipes and the things that you cook in order to become healthy. You could talk about a lot about your work routine and your workout routine and your fitness and diet regimen. People could love that stuff so much, and that's like what you want in your life. Like, that's what you want. You want to educate people and help people with their diet and fitness routine, and you could even write ebooks and help other people through communications with their fitness and health. If you have your Mercury in the 7th house, you're very focused on romance and relationships and one-on-one partnerships. You also are very smart when it comes to the law. You could be a lawyer because 7th house can indicate like contracts, and it can also indicate business partnerships. Being something like a lawyer will allow you to have a very strong sense of the law. It will also help you when you're creating partnerships with other people. You could find that becoming a lawyer, you will be able to tap into your strong skills of partnerships and relationships. And you can also feel like by helping people with the law or like whatever they want to do with their legal contracts, like you're there to help them. You might also find that you will be very focused on romance throughout your entire life and getting into partnerships with people. You could always just kind of be speaking about marriages. You could be a marriage counselor. You could be somebody who cares about marriages and partnerships in that fashion. And you could be somebody who also consumes a lot of romance media. You could be somebody who really likes to watch like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. Like that could be like your favorite TV show ever because it's all about partnerships, or watching reality dating TV shows. You could also find that like you're constantly trying to date people, or like constantly trying to like go on dates and meet new people for romantic partnerships. You always have felt like you need to be in a partnership in order to make yourself happy, and you have so much focus on that in your life. So if like you're not in a romantic relationship, you're partnering with other people in the business world or helping people in legal and business contracts. If you have your Mercury placement in the eighth house, you are somebody who is very stimulated by things like astrology, numerology, and the occult. I feel like if you have Mercury in the eighth house, you can easily speak things into existence. You are a very strong manifester and you have gifts. So when you speak, you have to be very careful about your words when you have Mercury in the eighth house, because you can speak things into existence very easily. The thoughts that pop into your head can easily manifest in your life. I would say it can also manifest in your life when you speak it outwardly. Also, I feel like if you have Mercury in the eighth house, you should be careful about the words that describe your actions, because that can easily manifest. I would be careful about anything that you do when it relates to your physical actions, because this will manifest in your life. You could speak a lot about certain things and it will manifest. You're a very strong manifestor. You could also consume media about like astrology, numerology, tarot, or like occult practices in general. Like you could really like that type of stuff and even create that stuff. You could write books about astrology or tarot or numerology or anything kind of similar in that fashion. You could also have kind of like a fixation on crystals. You'd be very drawn to the energy of crystals and easily pick that up. You could also find that traumatic things can happen to you. Things can also happen to you when you speak. When I said you can speak things into existence, you can very easily do that when you have Mercury in the eighth house. And you should be very cautious whenever you choose certain words, especially when we have transits like Mercury retrograde, Jupiter in Gemini. I would be careful around Gemini transits and Virgo transits, because that can really affect you spiritually. And during that time, you can really manifest a lot into your life, even when you're thinking of stuff or speaking things. If you have Mercury in the ninth house, you are very focused on education in this lifetime. You are very sharp. You really care a lot about travel, and you are very quick on your feet and good with words. You could find that when you are speaking and writing, you could really care a lot about travel and traveling to other places. You could entertain others through travel, and when you are posting on social media, you could be posting photos, travel videos. When you talk and entertain other people, you could talk about travel, and that could be like something that they're so into that you're like, oh, you like this too? Okay, I'll keep talking about this because it makes you happy. You could be one of those people who loves to talk about travel, or you could move to another place and post videos on YouTube, and those videos could go super viral and people love them so much because it's so interesting to them. You could always be communicating about travel and visiting other places. You could also really care a lot about education and educating others on different topics and different things. Could also educate people on travel, and you could be like somebody who has a travel blog and is educating people on places to go or places to visit. You could be somebody who wants to gather a lot of information about different places. So if you want to visit a lot of museums, you could visit a lot of museums throughout the entire country and then create like a vlog about them all, and people will eat them all up and be like, this is the best video I've ever seen ever. This is so cool. And you'll have a lot of intellectual stimulation when creating these things, and people also really like them. If you have your Mercury in the 10th house, you are somebody who is very driven for success and ambition. You might also find that your words become more famous than your image. You could be somebody who writes and it gets into the airways very easily. You could write billboards, radio scripts, you could write commercials, You could write a book that is very successful. You could find that your words are very successful and get seen by a lot of people. You could find that a very successful podcast, or you could be a very successful radio show host where people only hear your words and they don't see your face. That is very Mercury in the 10th house. The 10th house is all about success. So your words could have you find a lot of success in your life. You could be a writer and people just read your books and that is it. And like your quotes go viral, your words, your tidbits of information where you're speaking become very famous. You know, those quotes you find on like Pinterest or on Google Images where that happens all of the time. I feel like when you have Mercury in the 10th house, you could also have a lot of authority when you speak and people will listen to you. Like whenever you're speaking, everybody's like, hold on, we need to listen to this person. Everybody just listen to this person. You could find that that's also a theme in your life. You could also be a very successful music artist where your words, people hear your words, they don't necessarily see your face, and you have a lot of authority in the way you speak. So people listen to every word you say on repeat, and people will really enjoy what you're creating and they will listen to you totally and completely. You could also find that you could be a very successful writer. You could write magazine articles or magazine ads. You could have a blog. Anything involving writing and communicating, you will become very successful in. You might also find that your words will have a theme of fame. So you could actually talk about fame or being famous. You could talk about a lot of things that will help educate people on how to become famous or how to go viral. And you'll be very successful for that. Like when you tap into your 10th house energy and looking at the themes of the 10th house, you'll become more successful when you talk about those things because people will be very interested in that, and you will be kind of like an authority figure when you speak about those subjects. So like if you have your Mercury in the 10th house, for example, Lady Gaga has her Mercury in the 10th house. Her first album was called The Fame. Themes of fame and success are just everywhere. Were just sprinkled throughout the entire album, and it's called The Fame. This very successful album when she tapped into her 10th house Mercury. If you have your Mercury in the 11th house, you're very intellectually stimulated by groups of people and wishes. You're also a very strong manifester because the 11th house is all about hopes, dreams, and wishes. So like when you write about things that you hope about or dream about or want in your life, you can actually attract a lot of readers and listeners because they will want that for themselves. So when you're attracting people like, I want this or I want this, you will attract a lot of people and people will want to listen to you. You could also talk a lot about those themes. You could also have a lot of humanitarian themes in the way that you speak. You could care a lot about other people. Not only do you attract people through like hopes, dreams, and wishes, but you also have a lot of humanitarianism in the way you speak. So you could speak in order to help other people with stuff or help progress people or help progress society in a way. Your intentions could be very humanitarian, and you could have a lot of themes in just like humanitarianism. When you write a book, it could be humanitarian, or when you create a song or a podcast, it could be rooted in those themes. If you have your Mercury in the 12th house, you could find that the way that you write is a little dark. You could have a lot of dark themes in the way that you speak and write. And if you harness this correctly, you can actually become a very successful author because there is an audience for like horror and dark themes. You might be an expert in the dark themes because having 12th house placements can make your life kind of like isolating and dark a little bit. But when you write about it, you can actually attract an audience because people might be very interested in those themes. Like when you think about like horror movies and stuff like that, has a lot of people who are interested in that. You could be a very successful horror writer or somebody who writes about a lot of like kind of like dark themes and people will gravitate towards that. Like American Horror Story like has some very dark themes in it. Like the second season, I think that was probably the most dark season. It has a lot of 12th house themes, like location of it and everything. That's 12th house. So like you could probably be very successful in creating something like that and you'll have a very big audience. and people will really gravitate towards it. You could also find that you could have mental health stuff going on if you have Mercury in the 12th house, because just dark things tend to happen to you. And the way that you speak, it can be very dark. So you could have some mental health stuff going on as well that can come out when you are writing. But however, if you translate it into a way that's more about, like, if you're writing entertainment for people, people will probably love it. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Elizabeth. If you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post new videos every single week.